Alright. Just start saying something?
Say the N word.
No.
Yay, you did it!
We got it. Hi, my name's Billee Paige Harris. I'm an actor in the Illawarra. I also own Page 9 Productions and like to write and direct.
What first introduced you to theatre?
So my parents did theatre a lot. They actually met in theatre when my dad was my mum was a prostitute and my dad was her pimp in Arcadian's production of Les Mis. I like to tell that story at parties, but leave out the Les Mis part. So they met in theatre, so they grew me up. They raised me with a lot of theatre, like musical theatre, and brought me to a lot of shows that their friends were in and everything like that. So yeah, I was raised in a theatre household and kind of got shoved right into it without any choice. So.
What jobs have you taken on in theatre and film?
So, okay. In theatre and film, I've done acting, directing, choreographing, producing, media and marketing, costumes, props, and set. So I've done a little bit of everything. But yes, I've also done editing. Yes, done a fair bit of editing for small films and stuff like that. So that's good fun. And writing, did I say writing?
Possibly.
Probably.
You said a lot of things.
I said a lot of things. Just Google the roles of a theatre team and I've probably done them, so.
Who are your biggest inspirations?
Yes. I wouldn't say that I have like one specific person or a couple specific people. I think I just see the work of some people, like whether it be in a community theatre setting or whether it be in a film, and I just see that and I go, that's the type of art I want to create, or that's the type of feeling that I want to evoke, and I see these people creating those feelings and portraying those feelings, and I go, yes, that. I pop it in my pocket, my brain pocket, and then, yeah. I wouldn't say that I have like I wouldn't say that I have specifically one person or a couple people. Just, I see theatre and I see people and I go, that. So yeah. I went and saw Superheroes up at the Seymour Centre last year. That was really amazing. And just like the two lead females in that had, like it was produced with Griffin Theatre Company. They produced like really, really amazing work. And just both of their performances were kind of like, just so on it. Like just really, really emotionally invested, just really, really beautiful performances and great storytelling and everything like that. So that's the kind of, I've seen that, I've seen really cool like visual work, a lot of really cool visual work in the Illawarra. Sometimes it's just stuff on YouTube. Like at the moment, Benedict Cumberbatch and Andy Lee Miller's Frankenstein on the National Theatre Archive. That at the moment is big inspiration for me. So yeah.
What are your future projects?
Okay.
No, sorry, oops, that's a good one.
What?
What are your favourite things you've worked on?
Okay, favourite thing I've worked on is first proper show that I ever did was A Midsummer Night's Dream at high school, and I loved that because I played Puck, and that was just like a really, really fun role for me, and it's just like, it's a role that just always has a special place in my heart. It's just such a fun thing, and it's lots of good memories surrounding that. Joan was probably also one of my favourites. Just such a big role, but so much detailed work, and it was just, I guess, cathartic to play her. Like it was just such a full body and full emotional experience unlike anything that I've ever done before, so that's been really, really fun. I also loved doing Trail to Oregon because I directed that, choreographed that, and was also the son. That was probably one of my favorites too, because that was just, again, just like a whole experience, like a small group of people, all of us working together just to create this funny sort of parody show. It was just like a really, really fun time. So those are probably some of my favorites that I've worked on.
Good morning.
Good morning. So a little known fact about, oh, that's why it's not working. A little known fact about the show is you guys actually get to choose our name. I did a theatre show up in Sydney in last year, January, with Emma Watkins, who was the Yellow Wiggle. So we did a show, a part of Sydney Festival, that was designed to create theatre specifically marketed towards people with varying disabilities. So the whole theatre production was very visually impressive. The whole thing was in Auslan. We also had captions throughout TVs that were placed in the sets. We did one performance that was completely audio described. And before the show, our completely blind audience also came through and they got to feel all the sets and everything like that. And that was just a really amazing experience to create such a visual piece of theatre. Because the way that Justine Williams, her name is, she's such a wild woman, but she's amazing to work with. She's a visual artist turned theatre director. So the way that her process works is that she sees images and she takes the images and finds a way to put them on stage and connects them all through a story. So the way that she conjured the clouds, which is the name of the piece, came together is she found a bunch of different images that she liked and created this whole piece around it. And we had and then another part of the way that she works is that she'll give you costumes that are deliberately restrictive to help create character. So she had us walking in proper stilettos that were a size too small just to see how that would work. I had a big beekeeper costume, an absurdist beekeeper costume that weighed something like 25 kilos. So I had 6-inch platforms that were made completely out of wood and covered in insulation. And then I had a helmet that had a full beehive on it. I wore a basket that limited my arm movements. It was massive. And just the actual process of working on a piece of theatre and getting to create that as well, because I helped kind of make the beekeeper song thing. So yeah, getting to create that was just heaps of fun, and just overall working with in such a different way, because her idea is to access as many of the 5 senses as you can in a single piece of theatre. So all of the music was textural, it was all bass boosted, so you could feel it through the things. There were scents all through the set, and then there was food that she gave that some of the characters were designed around food. So the fairy floss hag, which was one of the costumes that I was, had me spinning fairy floss on stage and kind of handing it out. Then we had popcorn, these popcorn people who then were coming on, bouncing around on a trampoline, and then popcorn got thrown into the audience, so you got to eat, smell, see, feel, and hear. And then, so having a lot of relaxed performances too for people with sensory issues, so that the performances would go at different paces, or that we could turn the music down, or things would be less intense. So doing a show that was designed for people who unfortunately theatre's not really designed for. So we had a woman come backstage and she said, I went deaf 5 years ago and I used to love theatre. And she's but there would only ever be 2 or 3 days out of an entire season for even something as big up in Sydney where I could actually go and see it and I would understand what was going on. And she said, for me to come here and see that I just not an interpreter put off to the side, but I was this theatre, that these characters were speaking my language, was really, really beautiful. And that was really touching. So that was really fun. And I think just the costumes and everything was just so wild that it was just such a great experience. I can't believe I forgot about that.
What are your future projects?
So coming January, I have Puffs and Twisted with Rising Arts Theatre Company, Rising Arts Productions. I should know the name of it. Productions? Yeah. Is it Productions? Okay.
Right.
They're coming for you to get it wrong.
I know. Please don't fire me. So we've got Puffs up in Marrickville at the Flight Path Theatre, and then we've got Twisted down in Wollongong at the Phoenix Theatre. So that's January. Then Puffs will be back up again in April. I'm doing an adaptation of A Midsummer Night's Dream in June at the Phoenix Theatre. It just got moved, so that's why I don't know the dates. So yes, I'm doing an adaptation that I've written and will be directing in June. And at the moment, that's kind of all for the moment. Just 4 things in the first 5 months, 6 months of the year. But hopefully more things, just little projects here and there, picking up acting gigs where I can. Everything to keep busy. So Page 9 Productions is putting on A Midsummer Night's Dream. It's called Summer Dreaming. and it focuses on the darker elements of some of Shakespeare's comedies, like the loss of bodily autonomy and kind of the corruption behind the magic that they use, and how it's presented in quite a light-hearted medium, but when you actually look at what they're doing, it's quite awful. So really focusing on kind of turning a comedy almost into a tragedy, but just making like some really cool, funky theatre. So that'll be coming in June. But yeah, and then hopefully a couple other things. We've got things on the back burner that I probably can't say until anything is set in stone, but it's just a matter of kind of making sure that things are, that we're getting things prepared just in case, and then eventually coming to them. I don't know if that made any sense, but good luck editing that together.
What paid jobs have you had?
So the one that I did in Sydney was paid. She Conjured the Clouds was paid, so that was part of Sydney Festival. That was paid. I just did a gig up with Luna Park where I was a scare actor for one of their mazes for their big Hallow Scream event, which was really, really fun. It's always good to actually see someone react so physically to you that they like fall over or pass out, or like, you know, you're doing your job right, which you can't normally see in theatre because there's just blackness there. And then just like a couple of like short films or like bit roles in short films where it's just been like $20 for your time, anything like that, those kind of things. So yeah. Oh yes, page 9 was paid, sorry, I forget that directing counts. Yes, page 9 was kind of designed with the initiative of, or with the intention of bringing somewhat of an income to all of the many Illawarra arts performers, because so many of them are doing amazing community theatre, which is great. But I think at some point, somebody needs to start getting paid, and I kind of wanted money, so I thought that I might as well give that. So yeah, Page 9 Productions, we did a profit share agreement for 10 Days and Counting, so our stage manager, our lighting designer, our producer, all of our actors and myself all got paid. So yeah, that's kind of the hope for all Page 9 Productions going forward, is to help bring a little bit of income to struggling artists. But yeah. Hello?
What kinds of roles do you like playing?
I've played a lot of different roles, and I'm quite happy in the sense that I've not been like typecast as one particular thing, though there was a period in time where my typecast was like slightly weird person with a thing like an oral fixation that was just, that was my typecast for about like 3 roles in a row where I was like, oh, that's indicative of something. So that was Heather's Trail to Oregon, and Miscellany, which is something that I did with the uni. So she was constantly downing a bottle of pills, anti-anxiety meds or anything. But yes, there was that, just a little bit weird. So yeah, those 3 were probably, that was my typecast, but yeah, for a little while. But I'm happy to say that I've played a fair few different roles. So Joan was obviously very different to the sun in Trail to Oregon. I enjoy characters that have either a lot of emotional depth or have a lot to do with the plot. Not as in like a central character, as in like some of their choices are what drives the plot forward. So that's kind of why I like Puck, that without their kind of incompetence, a lot of the play would just be over like that. Yeah, I really enjoy playing like big physical characters, like anything with a big physicality, anything that kind of requires a lot of work. I do enjoy putting in the work for a character. So like, that's why I love Joan so much. It's because she was a trek and a half, but it was like, I enjoyed it. So I love those kind of characters. Anything with a little bit of comedy, I guess. Does that answer your question? I can't remember what the question was. I'm so sorry. I don't want to get caught in anything, and I don't think I have. Like, I've done a fair few musicals. I've done a fair few like straight plays. I've done a lot of written stuff. I've done a lot of devised work. I've done, a fair bit of comedy and tragedy and all of that kind of stuff. And I enjoy like doing everything. Like, I feel like if you do one thing, or I know for certain that if I do one thing for too long, then I get bored and I'm like, I'm gonna do something else now. So yeah, I like to think that I've covered a lot of bases. I don't know what words are anymore.
You don't need a plural on the plural. Bases.
Bases, okay. Words aren't real, I don't know what I'm saying.
That it's bases, right?
It's on basis of BASIS. Covered a lot of BASES bases.
taken an English lesson here.
What do you hope audiences take away from your written works?
This is something that I've always kind of hoped for, is that in the same way that I like seeing other artists create and write and perform to help inspire me to create and write and perform, that's kind of what I hope to do. Is not so much that I want them to come away with a political statement or a particular ideology. I just either want to make them think or make them go, I like that, I want to create something like that. Or that's inspired me to try this, which actually happened after 10 Days and Counting. Someone brought the child to 10 Days and Counting, and then they actually reached out to me and was like, hey, they're really wanting to get into drama at the moment. I was wondering if maybe she could, like, if you have any recommendations on where she could go. I said, hey, we do free trials at the studio that I work at. So they came in for a trial and she loved it, and she's been here and she's absolutely smashing it. So it was just like, that was a really, really nice moment for me, to be like, hey, we saw your thing and it really pushed her to want to start drama. Like, how can you help us get there? Which is really nice. And also just like, I like writing for actors I like creating roles that actors want to play, if that makes sense. Because I think every actor probably has one horror story of like being given a script and just being like, oh, I shouldn't have said yes to this. So I like creating roles that people want to play and feel invested in and are interested in. So I guess that it just shows that people get inspired to do more shows with, if that makes sense, or work that inspires people to write, or yeah. I guess 10 Days and Counting kind of started from grappling with my own mortality and just kind of understanding, like, and that's why all of the characters were quite young, in the sense that a lot of young people seem to have this ridiculous pressure that their entire lives need to be made up by the time they're 30. And that was something that I definitely grappled with, in the sense that you need to have a career and you need to have a family and you need to have a partner and you need to be like set in a certain way and you need to have done something. And I think that it sprung from my own place of being like, hey, little things are still things. Like, something little is still something. Whereas, and I think that's kind of what I wanted audiences to get out of it, is, hey, you don't have to play a lead role in a big blockbuster film, and you don't have to have changed the lives of thousands of people to have done something. That helping one person or just brightening someone's day, I know that sounds super wanky, but like, little things are still things, and that your legacy doesn't have to be this giant thing, like this big, oh, they did this one enormous thing that changed the world. It's like 100 little people saying, hey, they did this one thing for me, or there were lots of little things that they did here, there, and everywhere that helped make my life a little bit better, or helped inspire me to write or to direct or to act. And I think that's what I wanted people to get out of 10 Days, is just, yeah, to understand that they don't have to do something grand to be great.
Biggest regrets in the industry?
I mentioned this a couple times. It's something that you learn way too late and only under certain conditions, that you have the right to say no. And I think that's something that a lot of actors struggle with, like even in community theatre for some reason, that it's this idea of, oh, if I say no, they'll cast someone else. So you force yourself to do things that you're not necessarily comfortable with, or things that you kind of are like, oh, I don't know how I feel about this, or I don't know how to broach this, or you accept a role that you don't really want to do, or something out of like this idea of, oh, well, if I say no to this, then they'll never work with me again. I think something that I really pride myself on is growing on my ability to say, hey, like to set up my own boundaries and stick to them. And I think that's something that all actors need to learn. And unfortunately it's not like something that you get taught, as like they don't have boundary classes like they have improv classes or anything like that. So I think that's probably my biggest regret, is not learning to say no soon enough. And also just, I guess there's just like a couple of injuries, I guess, that I've gotten from shows that are kind of like kicking around still, and you're like, oh, I wish that didn't happen. Other than that, like as awful as it sounds, every show, even the ones that I've hated, I've gotten something out of. Sometimes it's just as simple as, I never want to direct like that, or I want to make sure that I never get involved, that I read the script before I say yes to a project, those kind of things, I think, are some of my biggest regrets. Not regrets, it's like everything that I've done, I've gotten something out of, whether it be good or bad. So you can learn from things. A lot of the injuries that I have are kind of accidents. Like, I don't go in there with the intention of like tearing off my hamstring or anything like that. So yeah, it's kind of like, in the forethought, had I known that that would happen, I wouldn't have done it. Or had I known that this would have been an issue, I would have double checked or anything like that. But yeah.
What's something you haven't done yet that you'd like to tackle?
I'd like to have a bigger role in a musical. I've had kind of like supporting roles and stuff like that. There are a lot of kind of roles in musical theatre that I would love to have a crack at. Like, I'd love to do Peter Pan. I would kill someone to play Peter in Peter Pan. There's obviously like a list of dream roles and stuff like that. I'd like to start doing a bit more paid stuff. I'd like to do a bit more film work too. I've not done as much film as I would have hoped, but I love theatre and film both equally. So it's not like I have a favourite. I think theatre's just a little bit easier to get into, especially around the Illawarra, because there's so many theatre companies, which is great. But yeah, I think I would definitely like to. There's a lot of things I'd like to do, but a lot of them I won't be able to do until I don't look 12 anymore. So yeah, I would love to do like some really cool like movement choreography for a piece and have that be my focus and not have to do that on top of directing or anything like that. So I'd love to be like a proper movement coordinator. I wouldn't mind, I've done a lot of like intimacy workshops that's going back to like the boundaries kind of things, and I would love to help theatre companies do that, because again, that's something that can be quite difficult to navigate if you don't have experience doing that. So I'd love to help people out a bit more with kind of like intimacy workshops and stuff like that. I guess that's kind of directing things. There's a lot of movies or books that I've read / seen that I'd love to turn into theatre, and kind of vice versa, theatre that I'd love to turn into film. I guess nothing like really specific, there's just so much, but yeah.
Do you work better when focused on one thing or committing to many projects at once?
It's a bit of a loaded question. So I do kind of thrive on chaos, and I guess I like to think that the way that I work is perpetual motion. So it's like, as long as I have something, that I just keep going and I keep going and I keep going. And like, I tend to find if I have too much time, I won't use it. Whereas I get better at rationing my time when there's less of it. So I like working on multiple projects, especially things like when I was working on Twisted and Joan at the same time. That gave me a really great way to explore like sort of serious works and parody, and having that ability to express myself in two different ways. So I find that having my toes in multiple different pools kind of allows me to express myself in a bunch of different ways and make sure that I'm not getting too caught on one thing. That's not to say that I can never work on one project at a time. It's happened maybe 3 times in my life, but it has happened. I enjoy keeping busy, and theatre's what I love to do. So if I'm not doing theatre, then I'm a little bit bored, and I don't like being bored. So yeah, definitely because I think if I have a lot of time, I can just put it off and be like, oh, I'll do it later. I've got more time. I've got it later. I can do it later. But then if I've got like 3 projects, I'll be like, oh, I can't do it later because I have 1 hour free in the next 4 days. So it's like, got to do it now. And I find that helps, I guess. Just that idea of perpetual motion, I guess. So yeah, 2019, I did, I think it was 7 shows in the year. 4 of which were in the first 4 months of the year. So kind of went back to back to back, and then I had like a month and a half break and did another show, and then another 2-week break, and then another show. So that was so I did Heather's in January. Was it February?
Yeah.
Okay, so like early February, and then Miscellany was late February, the Lumbanesia was March. Then it was Central Plaza, which was my uni show, and then it was Trail, and all of that had happened between January and July, on top of studying full-time and working 2 jobs. So that was kind of my busiest that I've ever been. There has been, in 2018, I did 2 back-to-back shows where the closing night of one, I had to be up at 8 o'clock the next morning to go and tech the other one. So yeah, I like to keep myself busy, and I'm kind of known for it at this point, but yeah, we thrive on chaos here.
What makes you unique as a performer?
I guess I could sort of say the fact that I'm like willing to try anything, like I always like helping out. Like I don't think that any one person should be not forced, but like I think it's great when everyone works together to build a production. Like you don't just come in as an actor to act, you're happy to help paint sets, or you're happy to help like build props, or just like glue shit. I pride myself on not just coming in as an actor and exclusively saying, hey, I'm only here to act, don't ask me to help with anything else. Because I love making props and I love making costumes and helping out where I can. Like if I have a set of skills that's useful to you in a way that you need, I'm already here and I know what you want. So I guess that's easier than trying to find someone.
Pick up exactly where you were.
And I'd say that also...
Pick up a sentence back from where you were.
So... I can't even remember what I said. I'm not just there to act, I'm there to help build a show, if that makes sense. And I also think, I guess what makes me unique is that, I don't know, I guess I don't like wearing shoes. I guess maybe that's such a random thing, but I don't like wearing shoes.
You just like to keep your toes in all different...
Yeah, literally. I don't like to wear shoes when I direct and perform. Did I say I don't like to wear toes?
No.
Oh, okay, sorry. I don't like to wear shoes just because it's such a hippy dippy thing, but I like to feel the ground when I connect, like when I'm acting. I just find it easier.
Just like the owner of this theatre.
Yeah. Also, shoes are uncomfortable. And it actually got to the point where one of my students actually came up, because I teach barefoot as well. One of my students came up to me and went, do you actually own shoes? And I was like, I do, I just don't wear them. I was like, I wore them into the theatre, but then now that I'm here, I don't want to wear them. So yeah, I guess I don't know. I'm kind of good at jumping in things quite last minute. And I guess I'm always willing to learn, and I'm always, I guess, quick to learn, if that sounds not too floating my own boat. Because there's been a couple things where I've kind of been like thrown into a project super last minute, being like, hey, we really need you to learn this really quick, can you do this? And that was like the same for Nulumbanisia. Like I'd not done a lot of heavy movement pieces, and that one was really, really intense. Like we were doing lots of lifts, and like my character's main story was told through dancing, which I hadn't done a lot of solos at that point. Like I'd done big musical numbers and things like that, but I hadn't done a lot of like explicitly solos or duo dancing, which I had a lot of in Nulumbanisia. Does that answer your question?
Yes,
I don't know, I'm so sorry.
No, you're doing great.
Okay, thank you.
Last question. What do you like to do outside of theatre and film?
Oh, I don't. I just
Play video games.
I do like to play video games. I like to read, but I don't have the attention span for that. I like to paint. I'm a pretty creative person, and if I find that I don't have something creative to do, whether that be paint or draw or craft or anything like that, that I just don't know what I'm doing with myself. So yeah, I obviously like to write. I like to bother my siblings. I like going hiking too, and camping and stuff like that, so that's fun. But yeah, I guess that would be... I don't have a lot of free time. I keep myself so busy that the times where I have free time are few and far between. So yeah, D&D is kind of tainted for me, because when I was doing my HSC, my brother had all of his friends over to play every Monday night while I was trying to study, and it would just be them, 15-year-old boys, like murder hobos, screaming in my dining room while I'm trying to study. And I'd just be like, that kind of like permanently tainted that for me.
Murder hobos, classic D&D.
Yeah. Thank you. Sorry, my brain is like firing on all cylinders at all the time, so I just don't find things that are easy to focus on. Yeah.
Well, good. Can we get the show of us standing up and saying, hi, I'm Billee Paige Harris. Till next time.
Hi, Billee Paige here.
Billee Paige.
Yeah, but quickly, no guarantee of this being in the video. Top 3 movies, go.
Oh, top 3 movies. I love The Princess Bride, but also because I love the book. Oh, what was it called? I watched a really good New Zealand horror film the other day that was amazing, and I can't even remember what it's called.
Watched it the other day and it's in the top 3 already.
It was really good.
Black Sheep?
No. That's so dumb! I love that game. My first memory of that is I was just sitting there like channel surfing, and it came on as like a freaking movie on fucking BBC or ABC or something like that, and I was like, I can't. No, murder sheep shouldn't be a thing ever. Oh, what was it called?
Oh, is it an 820?
Housebound. That was it. Housebound.
Housebound?
Housebound. Really, really good. And then probably Hereditary. I do like horror films. That's something that I would love to do. I'd love to do a horror film. I'd love to be in and or direct a horror film. No, I did love Hereditary. And
It's a really
Midsommar.
good one.
And Little Women. I have a lot
I
of
feel
films.
like Midsommar as much as I like Hereditary.
Yeah, same.
I don't know.
Hereditary was better than Midsommar, but they are both good. I love movies with like a lot of symbolism when it's really clever. I like movies that are clever.
Alright, top 3 books.
Paulo Coelho's The Alchemist, Big Little Lies by Leanne Moriarty, and The Princess Bride by William Golding.
Cheating.
How is that cheating?
It's
Fine.
2 of your lists. It's one of your favourite video games as well. By the way, top 3 video games, go.
Princess Bride's not a video game.
I know.
I was going to say,
It's called a joke, Billy.
That was stupid, okay. Top 3 video games, Fallout 3, don't hate me. Skyrim,
Oh.
shut up. Oh, and maybe Until Dawn. Because I like,
Until Dawn?
yeah, I like
game.
their,
Yeah, I heard top 3 games or bottom 3 games.
shut up.
No, Until Dawn's great.
Until Dawn is good. But yeah. Hi, I'm Billee Paige Harris. Thank you for watching the Illawarra
Illawarra Lights Reporter.
Illawarra Lights Reporter. Wow. Okay, sorry. Hi, I'm Billee Paige Harris. Thank you for watching the Illawarra Arts Reporter. Don't forget to like and subscribe to see more from great Illawarra artists.
And yourself in the next video.
And me? What?
The video of the tourists.
Oh yeah! Sorry. Did I need to say that?